Julie Foudy, it is 2020, a new year, a new decade, and yet somehow the expectations for the U.S. women's national team never seem to change. Even now in an Olympic year, of course, the U.S. trying to become the first country ever to win an Olympics the summer after winning a World Cup. The Olympics will be held in Tokyo, but first, you got to get there. And to that end, Vlatko Andonovski has named his 20-player roster for the upcoming CONCACAF Olympic qualifying tournament. Some very familiar names here. 18 of the 20 players named were on the World Cup roster last summer. There are two new players, Lynn Williams, Andi Sullivan. Discuss them a little bit later. The average age of this roster is 29 years old. Some people were surprised to see Carly Lloyd make the team, but I think that the item that maybe surprised most people is the fact that Mallory Pugh, Julie Foudy, is not on this team. What was your reaction when you saw Pugh didn't make the cut?
Only mildly surprised, not entirely surprised, because we know we haven't seen Mallory Pugh as of late play to the form that she can play for club or for country. And so when I didn't see her on that list, I thought, okay, this is a chance for her to reset. New club, we'll talk about that in a little bit on the professional side. And we know she just hasn't had the confidence that we're used to seeing in her. Here's a kid that was playing at 18 years old at the last Olympics and doing well at that last Olympics. And there's a ton of upside, we know, to Mallory Pugh, and this might be a chance for her to reset because I think she needs it.
You mentioned the Rio Olympics. As a teenager, Mallory Pugh was breaking into the U.S. women's national team starting 11, and not just the starting 11, but for a major international tournament. If we go from that pedestal to this right now, that's a pretty steep decline. Am I going crazy to suggest that Mallory Pugh is going down the road of a bust?
No, I think she still has a lot of upside. I think the problem is our expectations are always skewed early on when we see a kid do as well as they've done, a teenager. And I think there was actually a case of her being overhyped in the beginning. Because she was on the Olympic roster at 18, because she was getting some starts. I think that we're going to see a lot more of Mallory Pugh going forward. She just needs to get back to that form in terms of confidence. And if you think about it, here's a young woman who hasn't taken a break. She's gone straight from high school. She decided not to go to UCLA after committing to UCLA. She goes out to play for the for the Spirit. Freedom is WUSA days. And she hasn't stopped. She's been playing youth national teams, full national teams. And I think she needs a chance to take a break. I think it's going to be good that she's going to Sky Blue because she's going to get a new look and a new start.
All right, let's focus on some of the players that did make the roster that fans might not remember from last summer because they weren't in France. Lynn Williams is a name that NWSL fans will absolutely know. Former league MVP, former league Golden Boot. But what about a player like Allie Sullivan? This is a player who toils in midfield, doesn't get the goals, doesn't get the assists. But these are two premier players, Julian, what is the National Women's Soccer League. Of those two, who's more likely to make a bigger impact with this U.S. team?
Well, you would think Lynn Williams with Alex Morgan being away with her pregnancy, but I actually think there's a ton of upside for Andi Sullivan as well because she's so young. She's 24 years old. She gives the national team another look because they can put Julie Ertz at center back position. Because she would come into that holding central midfield area. And she's got a great engine. She's got a great bite to her tackle. She can distribute. She can play. And she's got a lot of years in her going forward. So I actually like that move. I think she also has a very bright future in front of her. But with Lynn Williams as well, you can spread the field because she's got the pace to make that defense have to pay attention to her.
So real quick, where did Andi Sullivan go to university?
Oh, I didn't even mention that. How about that? Stanford University, Sabby, thank you very much.
We always have to get the plugs in again. The U.S. women's national team will begin their march towards Tokyo on the 28th of the month down in Houston against Haiti.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.